Waterman, and this is Talking All Things Business. And my guest today is Tracy Brockhoff. And she is a profit guide and BAS agent, a certified profit first professional, and is specializing in bookkeeping, and loves working with her clients to give them a better perspective on life and to be able to make their life easier without all the stresses of dealing with those areas of life which I find quite stressful. So she takes that away from them and allows them to do the things that they're passionate about. Welcome, Tracy. And
Thanks, Faye. Thanks for having me.
That's a pleasure. Now, Tracy, let's talk a little bit about who you are and how you got to do what you're doing right now. So explain to those listening.
So I originally started a bookkeeping business about 6 or 7 years ago. I was originally working for a mechanic, being the bookkeeper, the office girl, the everything down there. And we had to upgrade our software. And that was back in the days before Xero and all the online software come about. And the only way for us to get any support to do that was to pay people hundreds and hundreds of dollars to travel to us. So that kind of sparked the idea for me that there was more people in my little community that needed that type of assistance with their software. And that's how my business was actually grown. It's evolved from there, obviously. Technology's evolved well and truly in the last 6 years. Now I mainly work with Xero and MYOB. Bulk of my clients actually aren't even located in my little town anymore. And so, yeah, so from there, my passion's kind of grown. As my business grew, I could see that a lot of my clients were having trouble with cash flow. And when they had trouble with cash flow, then I had trouble with cash flow. So yeah, so that's when Profit First came into it for me.
Let me just stop you there. What do you mean? You said when your clients were having cash flow problems, you started having cash flow problems. How does that work? Talk to me about that.
So when my clients had cash flow problems, obviously they couldn't pay all their bills.
Right.
And I became one of those people that they couldn't pay. And it certainly wasn't that they didn't want to pay me. There just was no money there. How it is. Yes. Yeah. So so then I was experiencing those peaks and troughs. You know, I'd have high cash flow and then I'd have low cash flow. I live in a small rural town, which relies a lot on tourism. Mm-hmm. So, you know, obviously in the summer months, cash flow is high. In winter, it's pretty cold. Nobody gets around very much. So, yeah, that's when those low cash flow times came in.
So what you do is you educate your clients to get the cash flow into an area where it flows evenly instead of having those troughs. So you educate them in a way that helps them take that stress and that pressure away from life by teaching them and sorting out their bookkeeping issues so that there is light at the tunnel always, not light at the tunnel and then it's dark and then it's light again. So
exactly.
It's an even flow. How do your clients feel when they first come to you? What is it that you see in them? Are they highly stressed? Are they excited about having someone to do their bookkeeping for them so that they can then concentrate on what they do best and hand it over to you so that you can do what you do best? What is it about the clients that you create that feeling of a great emotion and a trust?
I think when they first come to me, they're stressed. They're stressed over their finances. They're probably not even sure if they can afford a bookkeeper. A lot of the times their files aren't reconciled and they've made a bit of a mess behind the scenes, because a lot of the software tells people that they can do it themselves. You know, it's simple. You don't, you can do it yourself. So
I wouldn't even attempt it.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know about it. So, you know, a person like you is in my background because it's not my strongest point,
Yeah.
and therefore I need someone like you to do what you do to keep me on track.
Yeah. And when you move away from that reconciling or the manual work of the bookkeeping, that's when you can take a bit of a step back and get a clearer focus on the numbers overall. You're not bogged down in the little tiny detail. You can get a clearer overview of the whole situation there.
Yeah, and you give them that and you talk them through that and get them to understand that this is how it's working. This is what you can improve here. This is what you can do. This is what you talk them through all the processes so that they understand them. They don't have to do them, but they understand them so they know what to do to make it better for them and easier for you to do what you do.
Yeah, I know I've got set processes in place that, you know, clearly communicated to the clients when we have our first meetings, you know, on how things are going to work from our end, what I expect from them, and then what they can expect from me back in return. I've just found when those processes fall down, nobody's clear. You know, I don't know what's going on in their business, so I can't do my best work. And because I'm not having that communication from them, they don't know what's going on in the background either. So communication is a cornerstone of my business. You know, I need to really communicate with the client and understand their business and what they want to achieve in it, for me to do my best work for them.
Yeah, and it's an accountability thing on both sides, isn't it? It's accountability on your side to find out the information so you can do your best work, and for them to understand that they are accountable to inform you about what's going on so you can make the changes and bring them up to speed on what's going on, or if it's not working, how to change it and make it work.
Yes, yeah.
For them.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing in business, because there are so many businesses out there now whom they start a business but they don't realize what's important behind the scenes in their business. They think just providing a service or a product is what they need to do and the money will come, but it doesn't work like that, does it? Because there are systems and processes and procedures and automations and all these things that do my head in, that you would take care of so that they can actually do the real work, that they are strong, they have the strength.
That's right. And business owners have even so much more to concentrate on in their business apart from their strengths. You know, there's apart from the bookkeeping, there's marketing, there's other software they've got to get their head around. They've got to worry about employees possibly. There's so much for small business or for business owners to consider in business.
Yeah. So what size businesses do you work with? You know, are they a one-man band or are they employ how many people? What's the most you will take on to work with?
So that's very it's a pretty broad category, really. It depends on the business and their actual situation. I tend to work more with people who have like between 1 and 2 employees, and 10. bulk of my clients are in the retail industry, which is where you can see a lot of those peaks and troughs as well.
I've seen a lot of those lately.
Yeah.
What's been going on in 2020, it's quite an amazing time for everyone, but retail, I think, is one of the areas that is suffering the most, and particularly the really small retail outlets that might have been just plodding along and doing what they do, but then this pandemic, or whatever you want to call it, happened, and it just threw a spanner in the works for everybody. And it's survival of the fittest to be able to, pivot their business. And I'm not sure whether I really like that word, but change what they were doing to continue selling their products.
And just to continue operating. A lot of people just had to kind of close their doors. And just saying about those small retailers, they are the ones that I really love to work with. The ones that started their business because they saw a gap in the community, or I've got another client who, she has a child with special needs, and she started her business so that she could support other parents with toys and equipment, I suppose, especially for special needs children. So yes, so they're the people that I love to work with, the ones that have heart or a purpose around their business. We all go into business to make money, but it's nice to be doing something that we love while we're doing that.
Absolutely. And Profit First, what is that?
Yeah, so Profit First is a cash management system. It's based on the book by Mike McAllowitz. It is in essence, it is based on the old envelope system. So I've always said to my clients when I've taken them on, you need to open up a separate account for your GST. That was always the first thing that I said. Now I tell them that they need to open an account for their GST. They need another one for their own pay. They need one for their operating expenses, to pay their tax, and one for profit out of their business. So instead of looking at the profit and loss and going, where's that profit that I made? They've got a bank account set aside, which they do have some of the profit put into.
Yeah. And isn't that nice, because that encourages them to continue doing what they do when they can sometimes not see that profit and all the money that comes in, they don't even pay themselves. But the rule of thumb is that you pay yourself first and then you pay whatever else you need to pay. But I don't think that works in business a lot of the time. I think, people are always looking at, oh, I have to pay this and I have to pay this, and they come last.
People usually, and they, I'm not saying they shouldn't pay their expenses, but people usually look at their income, they pay all their bills, and then out of what might be left over, then they take a little bit for themselves. So Profit First flips that around a little bit. You look at your income, you actually take out your profit to start with, and then you pay your expenses. And it leaves leftover. It doesn't mean that you're running short to pay your expenses.
Yeah, and it's a good mindset thing, isn't it, to change that, flip it around, so that instead of thinking of lack all the time, you're thinking, oh yes, I've made X amount of dollars, or I've got this in spare if I really, really need it, and I've been able to do this, and this. So it's a great thing to be able to teach your clients to flip their mindset around so that they can look at their financial situation in a different perspective, which is a wonderful thing to do. And that's what you do.
Yeah.
we're coming to the end of the show, but Tracy, how do they get in contact with you if they want to have a conversation or they want you to do some work for them?
Yeah, so they can visit my website, nourishyournumbers.com.au. If people are interested in learning a little bit more about Profit First, I also have a Facebook group, Profit First for Women in Business. Otherwise, they could pop onto my Facebook page and send me a message there.
Beautiful. Tracy Brockhoff. Yes. Thank you, Tracy. It's been wonderful learning a little bit more about what you do and how you help your clients. And I think, you're changing their mindset at the same time. You're not just in the background doing their books for them and keeping them in order, but you're actually giving them an incentive and teaching them to look at their financial situation in a different way. So that is fabulous.
Yeah, thanks, Faye.
Thank you so much for spending the time with me today.
Great, thanks for having me.
Pleasure. I'm Faye Waterman, and this is Talking All Things Business, and I'll be back with another client. It's bye for now.